Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter welcoming you to another Stone Cold Hockey 91-92 video. And we are doing the Chicago Blackhawks, trying to get us to the Stanley Cup Finals. We've played, 65 games, right? 56, 60. So we have 15 games left in our season. We are being crushed by Detroit in the North, even though we've won 4 out of 6 against those pesky Red Wings. Minnesota, Toronto, St. Louis fighting for those 2 final playoff spots. But remember, it's a top 4 per group. By the way, Vancouver looking good in the Smythe. Winnipeg and Calgary fighting tooth and nail for second place to probably be the home ice advantage. Edmonton looking good against LA for 5 points. San Jose 13 wins. That's not bad. It's not the worst for our season appearance. Anyway, Montreal crushing the Islanders by 29 points. I think they almost have the division won. Boston in second. Buffalo and Hartford are fighting for third and to avoid Montreal in the playoffs. Quebec's 9 back. The playoffs, but Rangers and Washington looking pretty good in the Patrick. Pittsburgh and New Jersey looking good in the patch to get 3-4, and then the Islanders and Flyers behind. The one thing is 49. The LA Kings would be third in our division. Well, they're fifth in this fight, but they'd be third in our division, third in the Adams, and fourth in the Patrick. Poor LA. 65 points without making the playoffs. Hell, even Quebec and the Islanders would make the playoffs if they were fourth in our division. Anyway, Brett Hall has 55 goals. Kevin Stevens 52. Vincent Dalpou somehow has 50 goals. Somehow. Jeremy Roenick, our boy, is 7 foot 40. He's behind Roberts, Mullen, and Granato. Points wise, Kevin Stevens leads Dalpou and Wayne Gretzky. Surprised with a guy with 200 penalty minutes. He has 98 points. Fook, I say. Roenick has 11 points. He's catching Brett Hall and Phil Housley and all them. Good job. Waugh, Richter, and Stefan Beauregard are third, 1, 2, 3 angles against. Belford's eighth. McLean, Essensa, Shovelday, and Van Beesbrook ahead of him. Standings wise, we played 65 games. We played the fewest in our conference alongside San Jose. Only Hartford, Pittsburgh, and the Islanders have played fewer games than us. The most games played is Montreal 68. Our points percentage is 515. According to point percentage, everything is the same. We have scored 203 goals. We've given up 109. Well, I mean 190. We've actually given up the fewest goals in our division and third most in our conference, with Vancouver and Winnipeg both giving up only 184. We're 15-3-4 at home, 14-4 on the road. Highlights wise, 51 hat tricks. Steve changed the last one. 15 games have the fan score of 30, the highest points. Islanders, San Jose, 8-6. When the Sharks were up 4-0, the first year Sharks, and then the Islanders scored 8 the last time. Boston, Edmonton, February 21st. It was 2-0. Well, Edmonton had 3-1 lead at one time. Edmonton, Vancouver, December 10th. Vancouver up 5-2, but Edmonton wins. Washington Islanders also with a 34-point thing. Islanders were winning 5-2, and then they have faltered. They faltered, giving up 4 straight goals. Quebec, Washington from December 17th. A big thing. 33 points. LA, St. Louis, January 23rd. Great battle between Gretzky and Hall. We have our points thing's not that big either. Anyway, let's look at the schedule. We are hosting the Islanders on March the 5th. The trade deadline's over. The Islanders bring Glenn Healy, the man with the bagpipes, in net. And we have Jimmy Waite waiting in the wings. No Ed Belfour and no Dominic Hasek and no Ray LeBlanc. So Hasek, great goalie. We had him as a backup for a few years and then traded him to Buffalo for Stefan Bouverard and a fourth-round pick, which ended up being Eric Daze, who was a pretty good player when he was healthy. We as Blackhawks fans didn't know that 2 years later Hasek would actually start his run of dominance. The Islanders, Glenn Healy, the main guy, Mark Fitzpatrick, the backup. He actually had some kind of back disease or some kind of condition that Fitzpatrick came back to the NHL, played some more games, and actually won the Masterton for perseverance. Steve Weeks and Danny Lorenz also playing too. Ray Ferraro. Oh, sorry. We go first. Sorry, when we talk about our team. JR, Jeremy Roenick, the sniper. Steve Larmer, 880 consecutive games without missing one until a contract dispute ruined it. Michel Goulet, the great Quebec/Chicago player. Brian Noodles Noonan, part of the 94 Rangers alongside Steve Larmer. Mike Keenan took many of these guys to 94. Brent Sutter, former Islander, we traded for him. We traded away our our good buddy Steve Thomas and Adam Creighton to the Islanders for the want of Brent Sutter. So, he's worked out for us. Dirk Graham, the first black captain in Stanley Cup Finals history. Look it up, people. Mike Hudson, part of the 94 Rangers. Chris Chelios, second year as a Hawk after being traded from Montreal for Denny Savard. And of course, that was a big move, sending both players to their hometowns. Chelios to Chicago and Savard to Montreal. Steve Smith on our squad, picked up for Dave Manson. Chicago lucked out at Steve Smith. He was run out of town from Edmonton despite winning 3 Stanley Cups after his boo-boo in the 86 playoffs. Greg Gilbert, 94 Ranger, Jocelyn Lemieux, Keith Brown, Mike Peluso, Robbie Brown, a good position, Brian Marchment, Stefan Matteau, 94 Ranger. 2 years later, he would be great. Mike Stapleton, Frank Crucero, Dan Fizzolette, Igor Kravchuk, and Tony Horacek. For the Cupcakes, they have Ray Ferraro, who in 93 claims to have scored 3 straight overtime game-winning goals, but he only got 2, as one of them was credited to Brian Mullen. Derek King for future Leaf. Pierre Turgeon, great player that Buffalo and the Islanders made a massive, 7-player deal or something like that. And Pierre Turgeon ended up on the Islanders. Benoit Hogue, I think he was a member of that trade too. Steve Thomas, who will be coming to Chicago for the first time, getting heavily booed and all that. David Folek, defensive forward, slow as molasses, but he did sink the Penguins in the 93 playoffs. Adam Creighton, coming back to Chicago, booed as well. Tom Curvers, the power play quarterback, as you will. The guy that the Leafs mortgaged the first round pick for, went to the Devils. Unfortunately, though, their 91 season went for shit, and the Devils got the third overall pick, and it was Scott Niedermayer. Pat Flatley, Lord of the Dance. Dave McElwain on so many teams it hurts. Hubie McDonough. I think they traded McElwain to Toronto for Daniel Marawa. Hubie McDonough, the part of New Hampshire. Yuri Krupp from Germany, who 4 years later would score a cup-winning goal for the Avalanche. Tommy Fitzgerald, future Leaf. Bill Berg, future Leaf. So how many future Leafs? Derek King, Benoit Hogue, Steve Thomas, a future Leaf again. Curvers was a former Leaf. He doesn't count. Dave McElwain played for the Leafs. Tom Fitzgerald, Bill Berg, Rob DeMaio did not. Joe Ricci on the team. Marty McGinnis, Ray McBean, Jeff Norton, Jeff Finley, Rich Pyle, and Scott LeChance and Mick Fukuda. So 6 future Leafs. Actually, 7 Healy. 4 minutes into the game, the goal was a hit. 3 minutes later, another skill. Ray Ferraro from Flatley and Hogue makes it 1-0. 1 minute later. And we ruined the other's defense. Vincent in the box. Remember him? I don't. 3 minutes later. Veteran? Nathan Smith. King loses the puck. JR? No. Well, at least we don't give up a goal. 3 minutes later. Caruso from Steve Brown and Norman with 2 goals. I didn't do that. 1-1 after 1. The Islanders, if they want to keep their real record, would have to go 11-0-5. We have to go 7-2-6. 3 minutes later, there's a fight. It's Creighton and Peluso. Creighton trying to fight, but Peluso beats him up, and the fans really cheer. They're hurting more than us. If ever I should leave you, it wouldn't be summer. That ain't Robert Goulet. It's Michel Goulet. It's 22nd from Noodles. Much later. Matto, Stefan Matto, and the Blackhawks have one more hill to climb, baby, and it's over. Steve Thomas is fucking back. His second from Steve Smith and Steve Larmer. I think Stepan is French for Steve, isn't it? I don't think so. But anyway, 2 minutes later. Let's make it forward. It's good. Delayed second from Kelly to Graham. I think Chicago, I think the Islanders are going to sort someone out. Glenn Healy can't believe it. Goulet, his second of the night. And that's good. I'll go with Daniel Rents now. JR for movement. Really is leading into that. Sayonara. Last moments. Warnick trying to steal the second of the period? No. But we're up 5-1, so we'll be okay. Action. No shot. Much later. Only and then Denial. They're losing the point. And JR shoots the plot from Matteau and Lima. Matteau's finally. Matteau Ben. 6-1. Much later. The Lima trying to get from Brad Sutter makes the 71 saying you should never let me leave the lineup. And they win 7-1. Jimmy Waite was excellent. Ferraro scored in the first 6 minutes and then 54 minutes of pure shutout. Goulet with 2, Roenick with 2. That's a team fucking effort. Everyone else in the division must be spooked, and they shall be spooked. So we head to Boston for an original 6 matchup on a Saturday night. It's not on Hockey Night in Canada, unfortunately. Montreal wins over the Islanders in overtime on Hockey Night in Canada. So we go to Boston, and we give Eddie the Eagle the start against Matt Delgois. Boston not going with any Moog. I'm surprised, but yeah, Delgois is going to come in for Boston. I think they were trying to spook us. Boston is only 1 game above 500. They have to go 8-5-1 in real life to tie it. Boston, Andy Moog, the main goalie. Reggie Lemelin, the first goalie to use synthetic pads. He's the backup. Mount Delgois and Daniel Buffoon, Boston used as bait. Vladdy Rusika, who is on a goal-scoring spree, so was Stephen Leach at the first. Bob Carpenter, former 50-goal scorer, or American 50-goal scorer, which was rare. And then, unfortunately, though, he had a massive collision at the Montreal Forum in real life in 1990 and ruined him. Ray Bork, number 77 in the programs. Brent Ashton, playing for so many teams, he was traded more often than his hockey card. Ha ha! Adam Oates, they picked up from St. Louis for Craig Janning, basically ruining the Hall and Oates trio. Andy Brickley, the color commentator on Boston TV broadcast, his accent's so huge. Peter Doris, Glenn Wesley, defenseman Cam Neely, who's coming off a massive injury thanks to Alf Samuelson's knee hit at the conference finals. He wasn't really the same. Dave Reed, the shorthanded specialist. Bobby Sweeney, Ken Hodge Jr., who had a massive letdown after his 30-goal season the previous year. Joey Juneau, who was part of the Canadian Olympic team, and now he's a Bruin. Well, his official rookie season was in '93 when he was a Calder or Rookie of the Year finalist, losing to team signing King Felix Potvin. Scotty O'Neill, well, this was Chris Nyland going to Montreal, back to where his roots were. Scotty O'Neill, Stefan Quintel's gone, I think, to Montreal. Don Sweeney, Gordon Murphy, Nevin Marquardt, Jeff Lucero, Barry Pedersen, the former Boston player who had a 50-goal season, and then Vancouver traded for him, giving up Cam Neely in the process, and Jim Weimer. 1 minute into the game. We got a penalty with blue dye, Boston's red dye, and it's Peluso. No big deal. Aggression? Maybe it's Jocelyn and Lemieux. And Oak scores from right forward. Oak keeps the Barley Girl. Oak keeps the Barley Girl. No chance still there. Ray Bork from point from Wesley and Leach. I know Jimmy Waite shocked a lot of people. 3 minutes later. Injury. Well, the good news is it was clean. Can we take advantage? We almost did. Much later. We score! If ever I should leave you, wouldn't be in summer. It's not Robert Goulet, it's Michel Goulet. His 24th from Matteau. Matteau's finally getting some playing time, I guess. And they are losing. We are losing. 4 minutes later. Second? Really aggressive for us. Hudson. And Jessica from Bruno and Wesley. 3 minutes later. Major on us. Charlie yells you nincompoop. Boston can score all those goals in 5 minutes. Fortunately for us, nothing happened. You lucky guy. 2 minutes later, there's a fight between Jocelyn Lemieux and Jim Weimer. Jocelyn Lemieux being very savage. We're down 3-1. I would have probably put LeBlanc in the net if we gave up another goal. 4 minutes later. Aggression? And again, Peluso in the net. And his second night from Wesley and Leach. That's terrible. I mean, to losing to Mount Delgois? Whatever it's called. Fight. between Peluso and Stephen Leach. Peluso basically beats up on Stephen Leach. That actually helps us out in a sense. No chance by Ronak. Damn it, we couldn't convert. I can't really score from Ashton 5-1. Well, we're basically out of it. I'm not going to pull Belfort. But we scored. Greg Gilbert, his sixth. What's eating Greg Gilbert? From Sutter and Smith makes it 5-2. Well, we just got our butts handed us by the Bruins, so I guess that was a massive letdown. So our next game must be simulated. And we do play Boston again. Now, normally, well, you know the rule. If we lose or tie, we are out. I mean, we have to simulate till we win. Now, there is a thing. If the Bruins... Yeah, because we would have to simulate against Boston. But this is the NHL 75th anniversary, so we would have to play an original 6 matchup. But since it is Boston again, and this is the second time we face them in the same video, we have to simulate anyhow. And Boston beats us 5-0. Andy Moe gets a shutout over Belfort. Sweeney, Brickley, Bork, Leach, and Rashika scoring. Can't catch a break. Just can't catch a break. Monday the 9th. So we host San Jose. So, of course, you know, we would simulate against the Sharks, and we crush them 7-1. Jarmo Millais is the best Finnish goalie until when Mika Kiprusoff came along 10 years later. The lost Belfort 7-1. Johan Garpenlov ruined Belfort shutout. But anyway, Noonan, Goulet, Keefe Brown, Roenick, Graham, Roenick, Rob Brown scoring the goals for us 7-1. So we can play the next game, no matter who we get, I hope. We're in New York against the Rangers. We played the Rangers last video, so we can play them again. And we will play them again. And then we will see Eddie the Eagle against Johnny Van Beesbroek. So Belfort's getting the big key start. Anyway, Van Beesbroek for the Rangers. We talked about the Rangers last video with Mike Richter. The 92 Rangers in real life won the President's Trophy. Anyway, we're only 2 games above 500. We have to go 5-0-6 to tie our real record. So we can't lose. Anyway, the Rangers, they have Mike Gardner, future 700 goal scorer, and one guy that Mike Keenan really hated and traded him to Toronto for Glenn Anderson. Marc Moose Messier traded just before the 91-92 season started because he had contract troubles in Edmonton, trading away Bernie Nichols, Louis DeBrusque, and Stephen Rice. Catch it, Ert? Stephen Rice was just a flop. Tony Almonte, who would be in Chicago for Noodles and Matteau. Sergei Mamchinov, Darren Turcotte, Adam Graves, another coup the Rangers picked up from Edmonton. Brian Leach, 100-point scorer in real life in that season. John Ogromnik, James Patrick, who was good, but Keenan hated him, so he went to Hartford. Paul Broden, who the heck is he? I don't know. Chris King, Doug Wade, who went to Edmonton. Jan Eriksson, the Shadow. Tim Curry, the power play goal specialist. Randy Gillihan, who we had for the Penguins. What's your thing? Joey Koser, the tough guy. Joe Sorella. Roy Andy Moeller, Ty Domi, Per Jus, Jeff Bukaboom, Mark Hardy, and Rob Samner. Here we go. Third game on our thing. Taking a long time, maybe. Chris King scores. Who the fuck is this guy? 1-0. 2 minutes later. It's Caluso. Damn it. And Amante scores from Messi and Paxton. Amante was a little bit better than the last option. But he's still scoring goals much later. Rangers get agitated. Bookaboo. Yeah, Boston had no penalties except for the fights. Graham gets hit. Graham gets hit. They're fucking us up. We're down 2-0. 3 minutes later. And a fight between Horacek and Chris King. What the hell, Horacek? Going after that guy? Mike Gardner. Do we have a chance? No. 4 minutes later. Chance? At the end of the period, James Patrick saved by Belfort. 2-0 after 2. We still have a chance. Fisher? It's Marchment. Nope. 2 minutes later. Mantino from Leach and Patrick. Are we going to lose, Jeffrey? We are going to lose. Just score one, please. Aaron says no. I'm taking that. And Nemchina has a 4 in a row. Damn it. Jan Erickson. What an embarrassing game. 5-0. And Beastbrook just yawned at us. So we lose to the Rangers. Our next game is against the others, I bet. There are 10 games, but we're not in the Saturday Nighter. Why? I don't know. I don't know. Do you know, Jeffrey? How the fuck am I supposed to know? So we host Pittsburgh in a Stanley Cup prelude. Oh yeah, we lost, so we have to simulate. And we lose 5-3. Barrasso beating Jimmy Waite, and we lose. Target Paul Stanton and Tangolini. Stanton and Tangolini finally scored goals against us, February. And then Larmer, Steve Smith, and Rob Brown made it 4-3, but Phil Burke iced it. Damn it. How did we lose to Pittsburgh? Now we have to simulate the next game. And we are in somewhere. We're in Toronto. Our next game is against Minnesota. And we lose 4-2 to Minnesota. Luck beat Belfort. Marchman and Peluso scoring for Chicago. Great. Two of our tough guys were scoring. Dolan, Broden, Modano, and Gavin. How the hell are we losing all these matches? It boggles the mind. Well, we have to go to Toronto on Saturday Night Hockey Night Canada. So we'll stop right there. And it's 71 points. So it will be, what, 72? Yeah, we have 8 games left. We can't catch Detroit for first. We're technically in second. I think St. Louis can't catch us. St. Louis has just moved up. Toronto leads Minnesota by a point for fourth. So right now we would play St. Louis, and Toronto would play Detroit. Smythe Division, Vancouver leads Winnipeg by 5. Calgary trailing Winnipeg by 5. LA 6 points ahead of Edmonton. LA's come out of fucking nowhere. Edmonton, I think, has choked it, but LA's come out of nowhere. San Jose's faltering. Montreal crushing the Adams Division. Boston second. Buffalo and Hartford are fighting for third and to avoid Montreal. Quebec's only 3 points back. No big deal. Rangers, Washington running away with the Patrick. Pittsburgh in third. Devils are running away from the others in Philly for fourth place. Brett Hall's got 62 goals. Kevin Stevens, 54. Don Poos with 53. Gary Roberts, Tony Granado, Joe Mullen. Then there's JR. There's JR. Steve Thomas having 32 goals to farm up that guy. Watt, Richter, and Attenza are your goals against. Belford's ninth. Behind Craig Billington? How the hell can you do worse than Craig freaking Billington? Big shock. Well, Ron Haxtell and Tom Draper have single-digit wins, but they're better than Grant Fuhr, who has 18 wins for the Leafs. Even Kay Whitmore, who has 14 wins, better goals against. And John Casey has 12 wins and a 3.97 goals against. So that's what happens when you play with children. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.